I would not want my tips built in because then it's flat. And I would want to get out there and distinguish myself and really do a great job and think, all right, I'm gonna outshine everybody and get bigger tips. I would hate it if there was a ceiling on my tips. I would much rather get it as a function of performance. Isn't that a better deal?
I think so, 100%. I genuinely think if that reward system wasn't there, you would have significantly worse service.
Do you guys, you say you tip like 10, 20%, 15, 20%. Does the service impact what you tip? If it does, raise your hand. If you get really good service, do you give a better tip? So you do pay for better service. How do you spot a bad tipper?
So first and foremost, I've been stiffed and tipped greatly by almost every type of person. No matter how they look, how they come off, even people that are reserved and a little mean at first have tipped me huge at the end. So I don't prejudge any table ever.
But you have a system.
I do have a system.
All right, well, he told us about this. He says he can tell if a person's a bad tipper or not. So let's see what you said, and then we'll let you apply it.
Okay.
All right.
I want to go over the top signs that indicate that someone is not going to tip me well. Number one, if I roll up to a table and I say, hey guys, how's everyone doing today? And I get this response. Nothing. I get a cold shoulder. No one responds to me at all. The next telltale sign that someone is not going to tip me is they make humor about getting stuff for free. A lot of times they'll ask, hey, is this beer on tap or is this thing available? And I go, no, I'm sorry, it's not available or we're all out of it. And then they go, well, that means our beer's free, right? I know you're not gonna tip me. And it's okay. The next telltale sign that someone is not going to tip me is they are wearing a sports jersey. When somebody wearing another man's name on their chest and they're repping it, typically the tips aren't very good. The next telltale sign that someone is not going to tip is if their hygiene is bad. If I see stains on the t-shirts and dirt under the fingernails and a combination of like not, looking me in the eyes, and typically the tips are pretty bad. The last way I can tell that you are not going to tip is when I give bad service. And this happens. I see that you guys are unhappy and then I don't get tipped, and that made sense because I made a mistake.
We asked Jackson to put some of his customer profiling skills to the test to see if he could pick out the alleged bad tippers.
After being a server for about a decade, I really feel like I can determine whether or not somebody's gonna tip right off the bat. So I'm gonna look at a couple of the audience members and determine whether or not they're tippers. She looks like she's a great tipper. She comes in, makes eye contact. She's super personable. I would get a really good feeling about her. Okay, so she seems a little more nervous, a little bit more reserved. I feel like if I made a mistake with her, she'd be less forgiving, but I do think she's a good tipper. This person, I do think that she's a good tipper by the way she's dressed. This gentleman seems nice. He seems like an agreeable person. I think this guy's a 15% to 20% tipper. You know, with this lady, I'm not getting a good eye contact with her. I'm not getting like a great energy, and I feel like she might tip kind of bad. The jacket makes me feel like he's the type of person to tip 30 or 40%. This guy's giving me vibes of like lunchtime, no eye contact. I feel like this is a more challenging person, but I do think he will tip. This guy, I have a really good feeling. He seems like the type of person that would tip really well and be a really easy customer. He seems like he would just order his food, not be very needy, and tip his 20% and get out. I like this guy. That's my take on the audience members tipping, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay. All right. When I heard about your system backstage, I was going to say, I wonder what he would think of me. I wonder if he would clock me for a bad tipper.
I mean, it's a lot of energy in the greet. So when I say, hey, how you doing? If you're making eye contact and you're smiling at me and you're nice to me, you get the best service. It's like that simple right off the bat. I'm gonna go all out for you all the way to the end. So if you don't want to tip, and to the 7% of people that don't want to tip, eye contact, big smile, and you'll trick all of us.
Do you have a story or a question for me? Click the link in the description and tell me what in the world is going on.